All right, good afternoon. Good afternoon. So I'm Brianna Harlan, and I create radically vulnerable art. And that is my installation outside in the lobby, and it's called Oasis. And Oasis houses wisdom submitted from people all across the city, both from an in-person session, kind of like this one, and then from online, so maybe even past the city. But the theme is on vulnerable and honest moments, kind of that feminine voice that we're talking about. But the artist statement starts with plant, nurture, harvest. And that's because, as we go through life, things are planted within us. As we process things, as we come across things, as we feel things, react to things, there are things that are planted within us. And then the nurturing is what we choose to nurture, whether that be good or bad, healthy or not, whether that be love or resentment. All of these things, it's up to us. And then harvest, so we reap what we've nurtured to harvest. And if there are any gardeners in here, I'm sure you know. It's kind of like the grass is greener where you water it. So, I didn't think that was funny, but okay, I like it, it's good. Yeah. So now, this is a cycle that results in lesson learning and shaping our realities. And to share and embrace our truths, that to me is radical vulnerability, and that's the basis of my work, my art. So Oasis is visually and conceptually inspired by nurture, or by plant, nurture, harvest, and by feminine energy. And that feminine energy is often what allows us to return to ourselves and to each other. So Oasis cradles the intimate wisdom that people were brave enough to share, giving space, which is often what my work does, to share and safely share and experience and reflect on that feminine voice, and hopefully, the installation and everything we read from that will plant seeds in all of us, continuing that cycle. But now to think on the true importance of the vulnerable confessions that people were brave enough to give to Oasis, and both the giving and receiving of that, let's talk about flowers. So flowers are a distinctly feminine symbol, and to become pollinated, they open up, and we call that blooming. And blooming is a very positive word. So they become vulnerable to the elements, but they also share beauty, and they receive what they need to move on to the next bloom. So one flower closes, but another will open. And the definition of blooming, according to the internet Google search, is to come into or be in full beauty or health, to flourish. Now, there is no blooming without opening, expanding. To attain the biggest blessings, you have to open your arms, your heart, and your mind, and give the space and the energy for that to enter, manifest, and take root. So that is the radical vulnerability. And sometimes that's scary, but to not do that is to push down the truest parts of ourselves, and that's the grace. So I want to read an excerpt, because I put all the wisdom in a book that's in the installation, and there's something that someone submitted that I thought kind of summed that up really well. And it says, in all capital letters, fail big. Reach out, ask questions, make requests, even if the answer is no. Are you a writer? Send your work to the big 5 publishers. Musician? Reach out to the people you don't think you'll hear a response from. What's the worst that could happen? Stay in touch with your grace. So, I want to say that we do this even with the small things. And that's all I had written, but I have 2 minutes left, so I'm going to improvise if you don't mind. that we do this with the small things every day. And we talked about this even with our language, how we communicate with each other. And I love that you said slow it down, give people the patience, because I am guilty of getting annoyed when people ask too many questions. Why would I be annoyed that somebody wants me to bloom in front of them? So we do this with the small things in our lives every day. We rush ourselves, we rush each other. We're impatient with ourselves and each other. And whether it's the biggest dream or having a beautiful moment with someone in a coffee shop, it all depends on going to that vulnerable feminine space and giving that opportunity for connection, to put ourselves out there, to open up, to receive something, to open up so that we can give something, right? Because you can't give something through a closed door and you can't receive anything through a closed door. It has to be opened first. So the last thing that I want to say is, no matter what, I beg you to be brave like a flower. Thank you. Good job.